guys, I'm Bailey. Thanks for clicking on my channel. Today I want to share with you this really great book. It's called The Happiest Baby on the Block by Harvey Karp. We decided that these concepts were the ones that we wanted to stick to during the newborn stage. Our baby boy is now out of the newborn stage, so we don't follow this as closely anymore, but we did in those early days, and he is such a happy baby. So if you are pregnant or you're having a baby or you're interested in just hearing more about this book without having to read it and how it worked for us, and you want your baby to be the happiest baby on the block, then just keep watching.
Beautiful sunrise, good morning. Never have my eyes been so amazing. The colors of the clouds around you reflect the beauty of your arrival. Beautiful sunshine.
Okay, so Harvey Karp in this book really talks about a fourth trimester. He basically says, yes, we're pregnant for 3 trimesters, but the reason why we have to give birth when we give birth is because our baby's brains are so big, their heads are so big, that we wouldn't be able to birth them any later. He says that we have to give birth to them prematurely, and for that reason, they still have womb-like tendencies. They still really require their mothers and that extremely nurturing principle. They're not ready to be amalgamated into the world just yet. So thinking about that, let's say your baby comes into the world after 9, it works out to be like 10 months of being in the womb, and he or she is crying and cold and everything is different. There's bright lights, there's different sounds and things like that that's going on. It's a lot of overstimulation, and it's scary for them. Harvey Karp coined the term fourth trimester by stating that basically mothers should mimic the womb for the first 3 months of it. It's all considered the newborn stage, and some things that you can do to mimic that womb is baby wear. It talked about a study where mothers who wore their babies like all day long had really happy babies. They hardly cried, they hardly experienced any colic symptoms. They did a lot of studies in non-Western cultures where basically what happens is all the women just hibernate. Women will help other women in these non-Western cultures after they have their baby, and they just stay inside and they nurse the baby almost around the clock. They baby wear when they're doing other things, and the baby is always with the mother. They were happier babies overall. They cried much less than Western babies. I didn't let him cry, and that is a little bit controversial. Here's a really important thing. There's so many studies out there that have shown newborn babies are not able to manipulate you. They don't know how, they have no idea what they're doing. When they cry, it's strictly because they need you. They need to be fed, they need to be changed, they're exhausted, they need love or stimulation of some sort. It's nothing to do with manipulation and everything to do with that need. When the baby starts to really cry, they release all of these stress hormones, and it actually can cause more gas, and that in turn can cause colic. Ways to avoid that: they recommend having your baby sleep in the same room as you for the first 6 months. But again, that fourth trimester is all about just basically coddling your baby. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot spoil a newborn baby. My midwife told me you can never nurse a breastfed baby too much. You can't hold your baby too much. You can't, you don't have to put your baby in the crib. Newborn babies can sleep in your arms as long as you're awake and it's safe. Newborn babies are meant to sleep in arms. Like, they can sleep anywhere, and for them to have that skin to skin contact or just be against you or hear your heartbeat like they did when they were in the womb is so remarkable for their development, for their brain development, for their physical development, for a stress-free environment for them. Just any way that you can slowly amalgamate that transition and just make it easy for them is so vital, because that will give you a happy baby. I mean, Kai he's so happy. He feels secure. He feels 100% secure. And I think in a way he feels confident because he knows that his needs are going to be met. When he left the newborn stage, that's when we started to integrate a schedule and a routine. And at 4 months, we decided we were going to slowly sleep train him. He was going to be in his crib. He was going to nap in his crib during the day as opposed to falling asleep in my arms. We were going to get him into a routine of certain, nap times and just slowly get into that. We decided that at 4 months that we were going to let him fuss himself to sleep. So put him to sleep awake but tired. So know that all of his needs have been met. He's, been fed. He has a clean diaper. He's, used his energy during playtime. All his needs have been met. So then when he's drowsy but awake, now we put him into the crib and we let him soothe himself to sleep. He rarely fusses. A lot of times he'll stare at the ceiling for maybe 3 minutes and fall asleep. Sometimes he'll fuss or he'll talk himself to sleep. It's actually so cute, and I just sit there and, listen to him. But he will go to sleep. And again, I think it's all because he's so confident that he knows his needs will be met if need be, type of thing. But those strategies that my husband and I decided on were not implemented until we first went through the newborn stage. Now that we're trying to implement a routine and we're trying to implement that sleep training, it's the perfect time because he's confident and he's comfortable in the world. Another main concept of this book is the 5 S's. So the first one is swaddle. He talks about how having your baby's arms by their side so that the startle reflex doesn't wake them up. When newborn babies, they kind of startle and their hands go like this, and a lot of times it will wake them. So a nice tight swaddle keeps the baby wrapped up. And I know I've heard my sister-in-law was talking about how her doula said to swaddle the baby with arms out of the swaddle. No, not arms out. Arms like this, I think. Like swaddled but touching the face, or hands out. So anyways, I don't know what the protocol is for that. I just know that in this book they talk about arms to the side, and that's what we did with Kai for the first 2 months. And I think it really helped. Like when he was swaddled, he felt like in a nice tight enclosed space. I think it just soothed him a lot. So if he was fussy, we would first try swaddling him. Another thing is laying the baby on his or her side. That can be when you're holding the baby, you lay the baby on their side. It helps relieve gas and it helps calm and soothe them. The third S that Harvey Karp talks about in his book is shushing. Now, when the baby's in the womb, the shushing sound is actually quite loud. We have a white noise machine that kind of mimics that shushing sound. If you get tired of shushing all the time, you can actually buy the baby shusher. I've seen it, I've tried it, it's pretty cool. I will link it in the description box below for you to check out and see if you want to add it to your baby list. The fourth S is swinging, and it's not so much like a up and down movement. It's more of a side to side swinging kind of motion. The fifth S is sucking. This worked for Kai when I would nurse him. That's how I kind of fulfilled and met his need for sucking. He didn't take very kindly to a pacifier. Harvey Karp says that you should use a pacifier at night because it reduces the risk of SIDS. And I know Kai, for example, he won't take a pacifier and he puts his arm over his mouth and sometimes sucks on his arm, but it blocks his nose too. And sometimes I'll be right there and I'll hear him breathing heavily and I'll realize that his arm is completely over top of everything. So I'm not sure if that has anything to do with it, but based on my experience, I feel like maybe it would. So he does say to use a pacifier at night, and what I've read about pacifiers are that they can cause more ear infections. Another thing Harvey Karp talks about is the crying reflex. Premature babies whose cries were too weak actually died many times because the cries weren't loud enough for the mothers to hear when they were outside of the cave cooking dinner. So this is something that's kind of evolutionarily developed so that babies cry and it alerts parents, wherever those parents are, to hear that baby crying and to fulfill their needs as soon as possible before it becomes dangerous. So thank you again so much for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, click the like button and make sure your notification bell is turned on to be notified when I upload new videos. I'm trying to get on a specific schedule of uploading every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6:30 a.m. so you can look forward to those. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!